Hey guys, this is Eric Weingartner with Weingartner Racing. This is going to be one of those ones that answers the question, how much valve spring pressure do you lose if you don't back off your rockers during the winter or whatever else? This is probably one of the more extreme cases. If you're new to my channel, you probably haven't heard me talk about this, but this engine is my 477 that was used in the Engine Master Challenge in 2014. Now, I did get taken apart right after it because they did a photo shoot, which they never used in a magazine. So it's one of those things where sometimes they take apart stuff, take pictures, and then never gets used. So what I mean by that is they only took off the heads. The springs never got removed. But anyway, these springs have been sitting on this head, and I have not backed off the rockers since 2014. Now, from time to time, I did turn the engine over. And at first, because that's been many years ago, it was once a week, then it turned into once a month, and once every 3 months, once every 6 months. Currently, I don't think I've turned it over in the last 3 months. So what I've done is I've taken off the rockers, and I've started marking the ones that are actually open. So this one's clearly open. There's really none on this side that are open all the way. I'm sure the other side's gonna be a different story. And what's gonna happen is I'm gonna take off the heads, and I'm gonna pull off these springs, and I'm gonna check them. I don't have the initial or original spring pressures from these springs. Besides, I wrote on the heads back this time was 245 pounds in the seat for this one. But none of the rest I have any measurements for. But this is a PAC 1225 spring. I have new ones here, so I can compare those against new ones, and we'll see how much pressure it actually lost. I also plan to keep these springs, and for those that are also new to my channel, I'm having a dyno mule built currently. And what's going to happen is we're going to change some of those springs and put these springs on and see if it loses any power. So that's the plan anyway. You might be asking yourself, why are you taking it off? Well, this engine is being torn down to replace the rods and pistons, which those are kind of trick, but they won't use for what's going next. I'm going to put a Roots style 1071 supercharger on this engine, and this will be the backup motor for the Camaro, and it should be a really cool engine itself. In case you're wondering what heads these are AFR 305 heads. These are version 2, CB2. This is a long time ago, obviously, since they were made, 2014. That's back when, see that logo there? That's the Edelbrock logo. Edelbrock used to cast the heads for AFR, and then AFR would do all the machine work and stuff. They do not anymore. Currently, as this filming is done, they're being done by Buddy Bar, and that's in America as well too still, but the Edelbrock ones are pretty good. There's also been some newer versions, newer things that have been done since then, and I'll tell you this too. And you can tell because up here, you see how, guys, all this is all kind of encapsulated. The newer versions have a bunch of holes drilled here to help with oil drain back, because the only drain backs you have are there and there, and it's not much. So they added a bunch here to get the oil out of here, so it's not just draining through the push rod. So anyway, there's a little bit of differences. But let me get the heads off, and I will take apart the springs, and we'll check the spring pressures. Okay, guys, got the heads all tore down, and got the valve springs all off, and then the ones that were all opened have the X on them, which turns out to be about 3 of them. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna test them real quick. And just to give you an idea, this engine was assembled in 2014. Currently it's 2022, so about 8 years that it's been assembled. A little bit less, but about eight years. So that's what it is. Now, what spring is this? It's this one. This is a brand new set I've got here, a PAC 1225-16s. They're supposed to be 250 on the seat and at 2-inch installed height, 765 open. These are the PAC retainers. Same ones, although if you get new ones, since these are 2014, since then they now are laser etched with a date. They didn't do that back then. This is my valve spring checker. This is a Buxton. It's a really nice deal, and the way it works is you have to, I am checking all the springs, by the way, with the retainer installed. That's how you're supposed to, because it collapses the inside at a different rate than if you didn't. So in other words, if you didn't have the retainer on it, because there's a step on the retainer, you will get a different spring pressure reading. So don't worry, I'm going to use one of those same retainers on a new set and just see. But this is how you're supposed to measure them anyway. And the way it works is, this thing's amazing, but it's really expensive. All you do is you take it and then you just squeeze it down, mud up, and tells you what your pressures were. So there's one of them, 255 and 796. That's actually more than what they claimed from the factory as it sits. So what I'm gonna do though, and this is one of the used ones, this was not a new one. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write down each one of them, what their spring pressure was, both seat and open. And then I'll measure it against the new one and you'll see. So this one, by the way, doesn't have the X on it. So it wasn't the one that's been collapsed for at least 3 months. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. No sense in watching me do that, it'd be boring to you. And I'll share the results. Okay, I just got done measuring, and I know some of you are like, oh, you did it wrong because the retainer is attached. Let me show you on this Buxton what you do. Back. Right here's where you enter your retainer thickness. See? The distance. That's what you measure, put in there. So when you go to your settings like this, and you compress it, it's already taking into account that little difference between the top of the retainer and the top of the spring. That's how you're supposed to do it. But anyway, let's see the results. So I have them lined up from the ones with the highest value to the lowest values. And then these are the 3 that had opened. Now don't forget, it's supposed to be, got the box here, 250 open at 2 inches and 765 open. So these are the highest ones. The very highest one measured 274 pounds and 821. Then I had 2 of them at 272, 823 and 822. Then at 270, 263, 806. By the way, I'm gonna just tell you the seat pressures, but you can look and see the bottom one's the open pressure. 263, 261, 261, 258. Well, that one's hard to see. It's 252, or sorry, 257. No, 258, sorry, 258, 255, 57. That one should be reversed. There we go. 255, 250, 247. These are the 3 that had open pressure on them. This one measured 251, 245, and 250. Man, my handwriting's bad. 251 and 794. So you're like, wow, what a difference, right? Well, if you look at them, besides this one, these 2 right here, all the others actually measure, even now, higher, at least what the box says, or higher. All but 2. And one of them had pressure on it the whole time. It's only down by 5 and down by 3. So compared to what they advertise, it's not down that much. However, if you look at the range though, the highest one is a 274 on the seat and 821, and this one's 823. That's the highest. The lowest, 245 and 781. That's a huge difference. So vastly different. So then you're like, wow, it's too bad you don't have the measurements from the beginning ones. I don't, except for I measured all the new set. So this is an entirely new set. You can tell the difference in the retainers that they have. It's the same retainer, but they just now, like you see, they have their, I guess, burn an image on. Here's what they measure, 260, and I'm just gonna do the seat pressure, 268, 265, 66, 63, 64, 66, 65, 67, 63, 67, 68, 62, 65, 66, 66, 67. They're all in the 260s and real tight. There's none that are in the 270s. Not a single one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 of them are higher than even the brand new set measures, period. Then 1, 2, 3. 3 of them are right where these would be. The rest are lower than what an actual new set is. So that makes a total of 5 that were this pressure or higher than a new set. But all of these, like I said, except for 2, are more than what the box says. So does this mean you should go out and get different springs if you let your engine set over the winter? I don't know. I'm just sharing results. It's really hard to judge this because I think most of you overspring stuff, myself included. So maybe if you didn't, maybe you put it at 266 and you let it sit over winter and now it's 245. And maybe that actually makes things better because you added so much spring pressure that you cause things to deflect. And now since they're weaker, they don't deflect as much and it's not doing weird things, and you actually have less valve float from less pressure, which sounds weird, but don't forget, whenever pressure, or whatever pressure you put into the system, like you cause things to bend or deform, they're going to give up that energy at some point in the cycle, and that could cause valve float. So if you give it less energy to cause that, less likely to happen. But you do need a certain amount of spring pressure to control valve float anyway. So anyway, point I'm trying to make is I don't know. That's the answer, is I don't know if you actually need to back them off or not. I can't say that the spring pressures drop because they are so far all over the map. It could be that the manufacturing process from 2022 versus 2014 is so much better, because I didn't check every single one of them. Matter of fact, when you saw written on the head, it said 245. It means they checked one and it measured 245. I've got some in the 270s. That seems really bizarre because that's more than what it even claims on the box. Really high. So I don't have an answer, but I did want to share all those results with you because I know some of you are thinking about it. I don't know. I mean, this is probably about the best you can get. It's set for 8 years almost. This is what you're going to get. This is the information. Use it however you want. I wish I had an exact answer you could say for sure, and I don't. These springs I am not going to use on this engine. I'm going to change them out to a PSI spring, a 426 RML, because you have the blower and I have a little bit more lift than the 800 that this can take. These will end up used for the dyno mule, and we'll see if it makes any difference in power wise. But that'll be far down the road. I'm going to get through a lot of other tests first before that even happens. This set's obviously going for a customer, so that's good. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. If you got anything out of it, I'm happy, but probably just gave you more questions than answers. Remember, I'm no Superman, and you guys take care.